Welcome back. I've finally got some Baldurs Gate 3 news for you, but in this video I'm actually going to be covering another video on GameSpot's channel where an employee of GameSpot, Jeremy DeWitt, interviewed Sven Vink, the CEO of Larian Studios. If you guys want to watch that actual video, I'll put a link to it below. And in this video I'm going to summarize the video, talk about the key points, and also offer some of my own personal thoughts. I do actually think we got some good information here. For more Baldurs Gate 3 content, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Links to my Twitter and my Discord server will be below. Let's get right into it. So as many of you guys know, we've been in a bit of a dry spell for Baldurs Gate 3 news and content. The latest patch for early access was patch 4, which brought the druid class with it, and that was released back in February. We're coming up on almost 4 months of nothingness, and that goes for Larian Studios publicly talking about their game as well. Well, in this interview, Sven says that silence means that they are working hard, and with everything that we've seen from Larian up to this point, I think it's safe to assume that they probably are working pretty damn hard. Baldurs Gate 3 is a massive project, and Sven even mentioned that it's taking longer than they expected. And from my perspective, even if the game's world doesn't turn out to be insanely big, the fact that Larian is taking player agency and just permutations in general to the next level is just proof of a ton of work needed. So simply playing a different race in this game will bring about hundreds, if not thousands, of new dialogue options, which also leads to different outcomes in the game. So regardless of even how Baldurs Gate 3 turns out, I think it's safe to assume that Larian will be setting a new bar in the industry for player agency accompanied with good visuals. Now, Sven did actually mention the next patch, which will be patch 5, but the sad news for many of you guys is that this patch is going to be focused more so on features and not as much on content. And this, of course, is not really as fun as getting a ton of new content, but in the scope of things, I would say that it's more important to get the features of a game and its gameplay mechanics as perfect as you can before focusing on bringing new content to the game. Now, towards the end of the interview, Sven did say that in the next patch, there will be a surprise on the beach, depending on your actions on the Nautiloid ship, so take that as you will. In terms of patch 5's release date, we didn't get one, but he did say that it's right around the corner. So with that said, I'm going to predict sometime in July, which is next month. So like I said, not much new content, but Sven did still say that there's going to be a lot of new things in the patch, which includes addressing a good amount of the feedback that they've been given from us players. So hearing all of this, I'm going to assume that we won't be getting a new class. I mean, it's possible, but you know, a new class would fall under new content in my opinion, and we're not going to be getting a lot of new content. It's more so focused on features. If we do end up getting something, maybe we'll get a new race, the half-orc, the dragonborn. If we had to get one and I was to guess, I would say we're going to get the gnome race earlier rather than later, because the gnome is already in the game. We have a gnome in the Druid's Grove as well as the deep gnome, and it's probably an easier race to implement at this time rather than a half-orc or dragonborn, but I really don't know. I'm just speculating here. So for patch 5, expect a lot of changes to the features in the game. We don't know exactly what that means. Maybe they're going to mess with D&D rules and try to be more adherent, or maybe go the other way. I don't think they will go the other way. Or maybe they're going to mess with like push and shove and disengage as bonus actions, or maybe even add in something like dodge or a ready action. I'm just speculating right here, but expect a lot of changes to features in the game and not a lot of actual new content. Now, how about the full game's actual release date? Well, we didn't get a date for patch 5, so we're obviously not going to get a full release date, but Sven did say, and I quote, "We're really trying to get the game done by next year." So as many of you have already done, you can cancel 2021 out of the picture for a Baldurs Gate 3 release date. Sven even said this himself. And you can now maybe hope for probably an end of the year 2022 release, but early to maybe even mid 2023 I would say is still a possibility. So is this good news? Well, for me, I would actually say yes. I want this game to be big, but even more importantly, I want it to be ready. So as painful as it is, I am willing to wait. And Sven also said that he thinks this game deserves development, and I'd have to say that I agree. So it kind of sucks, but actually my hype levels went up a little bit after hearing this. Sven said that the studio is currently not only working on early access, but they're also very much focused on the entirety of the game, which is what we all really want. Combat is currently one of their core focuses right now, and this of course goes for fixing things that don't work well, but also just experimenting and testing out the rules and mechanics behind the combat, especially in relation to D&D 5th edition rules. We all have our opinions on this stuff. Some of them are good, some of them bad, but I think it's really great to hear that Larian is still actively working on getting this right. Some of these combat changes and experiments we won't be seeing in this upcoming patch, but we will certainly be seeing them at some point down the line. Sven also mentioned that they're working on adding even more ways for us to handle situations of all types. More player agency, especially when talking about combat. So currently we have systems such as being able to throw various objects and even creatures, messing with the environment in different ways, animating spores with glut, and things of that nature that fall outside of typical combat. And Larian wants to bring us even more options, but at the same time ensuring that the game remains balanced. Larian has been receiving some feedback that a few of the classes feel boring, such as the fighter. And people that don't play D&D, you can kind of understand where they're coming from. But Larian doesn't necessarily want to change the classes too much outside of the D&D rules, because the classes do serve their purpose, but they more so want to work on adding more ways for players to be creative and ensuring that those players understand that these options do actually exist in the game. This type of stuff is of course really hard to implement correctly in a video game, but I am really happy that Larian is talking about adding more to the game systems as opposed to changing the actual D&D classes just because some people said that they are boring. Another thing that Sven said in regards to content in a general sense is that we will eventually be getting a lot of the things that we expect to get. So this doesn't technically say much, but at the same time, maybe it does. The things that we would expect in this game, I would think would be things like the rest of the player's handbook races, of course the classes and more subclasses. So you half-orc lovers, you just gotta be patient. Now how about another panel from hell? Well, yes, it is confirmed that we will be getting one. When Larian tweeted a picture of a box delivered to their office labeled as Shadowheart's weapon, it was the first thing that I thought of. No date for the panel from hell, of course, but I'm thinking that it might be after the next patch's release, not prior to patch 5. And the reason why I'm thinking this is because Larian probably wants to save a big production like a panel from hell for an actual big content-focused patch. Jeremy also asked Sven if Baldurs Gate 3's early access will be very different from its actual full release, and Sven's answer was yes. Players who played early access when it originally came out, they should absolutely experience a very noticeable improved game on its official release. And this doesn't just go for improvements to the game, but there's also going to be a lot of new content. Sven said that they're saving many surprises for the actual official launch. Sven also said that there's going to be a significant jump from the final patch in early access to the official launch. So it sounds like even those of us with 400 plus hours at this point, which will probably be 1,000+ hours by the time the game comes out, will still likely be excited to go through Act 1 for the 200th time. Sven was also asked about the highly anticipated and requested Dungeon Master mode for Baldurs Gate 3, but unfortunately, and fortunately I guess you could say, he said that right now they're not focused on a DM mode at all. They are fully focused on this massive game and bringing it to us in the highest quality that they can. Even when asked about the DM mode post-launch, Sven didn't really answer. So I would say it's definitely still a possibility, but once again, this game is so massive and requires so much work that they can't focus on a DM mode at all at this time. They have to get the game done first and then go from there. So the reason why I said fortunately and unfortunately is because I do want them to focus on making the core of the game the best that it can be, and then maybe if we're lucky in the future, we'll get the DM mode, and then unfortunately, because we just want a DM mode. It really could be so much with Baldurs Gate 3. It's very, very exciting to think about. And to end the video, Sven said for us to hang in there, and he assures us that his team and himself are very, very passionate about this project, and they're going to try to bring us the best experience that they can, even if this takes more time than expected. We also have to think about COVID and stuff like that. It was a big hamper on many companies, especially a company like Larian that's doing so much voice acting and motion capturing and stuff like that. And that will be it for today's video, guys. If you want to watch the full interview, I covered most of it, but if you want to actually watch it, Sven's always fun to watch. The link to it will be below in the video description and the pinned comment. I'll be streaming Baldurs Gate 3 tonight for a little lore book collection session, so I'll maybe see some of you guys tonight. Yeah, damn, I gotta start planning these outros a little bit better. I'll see you guys on a future video. Peace.